The singer of Oscar-winning song Natu Natu has received a massive welcome after returning to India. Huge crowds of fans greeted Rahul Siplingunj at the airport when he arrived in his home city of Hyderabad over the weekend. Beating out tracks from Lady Gaga and Rihanna, Natu Natu from the film RRR is the first ever song from an Indian film to win an Academy Award. This year's Oscars saw several historic wins for Asian and Asian American talent. The night's biggest winner, Everything Everywhere All at Once, took home 7 Oscars, including Best Picture. The movie's lead, Michelle Yeoh, also became the first Asian woman to win Best Actress in the Academy's 95-year history. This year's Academy Awards marked some change since the hashtag #OscarsSoWhite began to trend 8 years ago. For more on how representation at award shows has evolved, our reporter Joyce Tseng spoke with theater professor Shanti Pillai from Williams College.
Given your expertise in Asian and Asian American performance, what does this year's Oscars signal to you?
Well, I think the past week is clear evidence that there has been an evolution. It's really a historic moment in time that we see these wonderful Asian actors recognized for their wonderful work, that we see actors in roles that are not stereotypes. So I think there's no doubt that the world has changed very much certainly since the beginning of the film era and even well into the 20th century, when we had characters who were very, very stereotypical, rather than as complex, noble human beings.
What are some obstacles or questions you see coming out of this year's Oscars?
Well, I guess the first question that it raises in my mind, in the minds of many of us who, as scholars, consider these issues, is to think about how we register what progress towards what we commonly refer to now in the United States as diversity, equity, and inclusion would be. What constitutes progress, and whether a very elite film academy giving awards to superstar actors is in and of itself indicative that a society has progressed.
As you mentioned, the issue of diversity and representation is incredibly complex. Are there any specific lessons that you see coming out of this year's awards?
One example I thought to name here today was that shows to me some of the complexity of this win this past week. We all know that this film, this mega global blockbuster, RRR, a film from India, won for Best Song, but the song was performed, as the best song usually is, on stage during the Oscar proceedings, and it seems that there were no South Asian identified dancers in the group of dancers who performed that number at the Oscars. How is it possible that in a night in which there's so much celebration about representation of Asians and Asian Americans, that even the dance number that accompanies the song from the Indian film does not have South Asian representation? And one other little example is that Jimmy Kimmel, the host for the Oscars this year, referred to the film RRR as a Bollywood film. Well, Bollywood refers to the Hindi language movie industry in India, but RRR is not a Hindi film, it's a Telugu film.